Adventure bikes, gravel bikes, whatever you want to call them, these are bikes that have become really popular in the last 2 years. We're now seeing a lot more interest from customers who want to get one of these bikes and add it to their collection because they really open up the sort of riding you can do. They're really well suited to poor roads of the UK with the big wide tyres, but they also allow you to get off-road and get away from the busy congested streets and explore the countryside that we're all surrounded by. Like most things, the trend has its roots in the US, where long distance gravel racing became really popular a few years ago. Originally, they were using modified road bikes and cross bikes with wider tyres, but the industry, always on the lookout for a new trend, saw the opportunity in these bikes and created a whole new category of bikes that really cater well to the sort of riding that we're doing. So we don't have the gravel racing scene here in the UK, but the bikes that are coming out of this category are really well suited to the UK riding, from rough roads with big tyres to getting off the beaten track and into the countryside a bit more. So the early generation of dedicated gravel bikes were nothing more than rebadged cross bikes, but the market has quickly matured and we're now seeing some really interesting new bikes coming out, such as this brand new 2018 Specialized Airworks Diverge. So there's quite a lot to talk about on this new bike, but I'm going to highlight 5 key features that I think make this bike really stand out and why it might be the next bike for you. The most obvious place to start is this funny rubber thing here. It's called the Future Shock. First introduced on a Roubaix endurance bike about a year ago. That's a bike designed for taming the cobbles of Paris-Roubaix, but really well suited to sporties and UK riding as well. So inside this rubber flap is a small cartridge about that big, and inside that cartridge is a spring. This spring provides 20mm of up and down movement. A very simple suspension unit, there's no damping, no adjustment like you get on a suspension mountain bike fork. The idea behind a Future Shock is very simply to provide a bit of extra cushioning and comfort and control when riding over rough terrain. It's sandwiched between the frame and the stem, and it simply isolates the top of the rider from the bumps on the trail. Normally when you hit a bump, the impact and vibration pass up through the frame, stem and handlebar and go straight into your arms and upper body. The Future Shock is designed to eliminate as much of that as possible, and it really does work. It really takes the edge off rougher terrain, and you really notice it whether on a cobbled road or on a rough rooty trail. The next interesting product is the dropper seat post. It's the latest import from the mountain bike world, where dropper seat posts have become really popular in the last 5 to 10 years. And the idea is simply to get the saddle lower when you're riding down very steep descents and just give you a bit more confidence and control when riding in very technical terrain. It's not a saddle height adjustment, you can't micro adjust the saddle height when you're riding, it's simply up or down. And you activate it by a small lever neatly hidden on the side of the drops. Push that lever, use your body weight to push the saddle down, and it stays there. Get through that rough terrain, tricky descent. When you get to bottom on the flat trail, hit the lever and it goes back to its full height and you carry on. It's an interesting idea, and it really points to where Specialized thinks the gravel and adventure bike market is going, which is very extreme technical riding. And it'll be interesting to see how customers really take to this, whether they step too far or whether it's the product that this bike needs to really step it away from cross bikes that these bikes originated from. You'll notice the lack of front mech on this bike. That's because it has a 1x11 drivetrain. Again, that's another idea borrowed from mountain bikes, where 1x11 drivetrains have become very popular in the last few years. On mountain bikes they offer simplicity, potentially less weight, one less thing to go wrong because you don't have a front mech, and the use of a wide range cassette mimics almost the same range you get with a conventional double setup. Shimano, however, doesn't offer a dedicated 1x group set yet. SRAM have really taken the lead in that market with its Force and rival 1x11 group set. So the spec is Shimano group set. Specialized have picked a bunch of mountain bike and road components. So on the back there's a Shimano XTR Di2 rear mech with a wide range mountain bike cassette, and that's operated by regular road hydraulic levers. Up front is an Eastern carbon fibre chain set with a single chainring, and it works really well. You get most of the range that you get with a double, and for riding off-road it's certainly enough. You get plenty of low gears when you're grinding up steep climbs. You do lose a bit of high end if you're trying to keep up with road friends, but really it's not designed for road riding. If you want more speed, you can easily change the chainring size, go up to a 44 if you want a bit more high end. But for most applications, this group set works really well. As you can see, there's a redundant front mech mount, and that's because the lower range Diverge models do come with a more conventional drivetrain. It's a shame that Specialized hasn't managed to get rid of that on this £8,500 bike. A bit of an oversight in my opinion. Disc brakes and wide tyres are the other key defining features of adventure and gravel bikes. Wide tyres for more traction and cushioning when you're riding off-road. This new Diverge will take up to a 40mm tyre. These are 38 fitted as standard. You could even fit a 650B wheel set and fit a mountain bike or a fat slick tyre, so you've got plenty of options there. There's loads of tyres coming onto the market that are designed for this mixed terrain, multi-surface riding that these bikes are well suited to. We've got disc brakes using the now common flat mount calipers and 12mm throw axles front and rear. They've quickly become standard in the last 1 to 2 years. There's no quick release anymore, it's all about throw axles for extra stiffness and extra wheel security. Using a 160mm rotor front and rear with the finned design, providing that reduced heat build up when you're really using the brakes a lot. The disc brakes again are another import from the mountain bike world, where they become almost standard within the last 10-15 years, and road bikes have really quickly caught up. On this sort of bike where you're riding in slippery conditions, in the rain and mud, on unpredictable, unfamiliar terrain, the disc brakes work really well. Got more power, more control, more modulation. They're more reliable as well because the pads last for ages, so they're not going to wear out. And of course, they allow the extra tyre clearance. You just can't get a big tyre like that through a rim brake. So going to disc brakes gives you much more clearance front and rear. You'll notice that there are mounts for fitting mud guards, so you could turn it into a winter training bike if you want to. That's another indication of how versatile these bikes are. Yes, they're designed for kind of mixed terrain off-road riding, but you can turn it into a bit of a road bike if you want to, so it really is many bikes in one. The last thing I want to draw your attention to is this thing down here. No, it's not a battery, it's actually storage for a multi-tool, a CO2 canister, an inner tube and other bits and bobs. Again, this is another idea borrowed from the mountain bike world, something that Specialized has been doing for a few years now. And basically, instead of having a saddle pack or your pocket stuffed with tools, they thought, why not use this redundant space down the elbow of the down tube and seat tube and develop a waterproof sealed container for putting all your essentials in. It's a really neat idea. It looks a bit odd and you get loads of comments from your friends when you're riding this bike, but it's a really neat idea. If you've got everything there, waterproofed, you never forget your tools, a multi-tool and so on when you're riding. It's all there, ready to go. You can remove it if you want, it's bolted to the frame, so you can strip it off if you want to go for lower weight solution. This is only spec on higher range models, but it's an interesting idea. It'd be interesting also to see if other brands adopt this idea of on-bike storage solutions. So that's a quick overview of a brand new 2018 Specialized S-Works Diverge. There's some of the key features on this bike that really make it stand out in the marketplace. If you'd like to take a closer look, head into one of the Bespoke stores. There's also more information online at the Bespoke blog, and I'll put a link in the description below. I hope you enjoyed watching the video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again next time.